let's get to a Hall of Famer, a guy who played injured, who played for the Dallas Cowboys from 1967 to 1979, a six-time Pro Bowler, an offensive tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, Rayfield Wright. How you doing, Rayfield?
I'm doing great. How you doing this afternoon?
Good. David Spada here with my co-host Elliott Harris. We were just discussing Jay Cutler and the minor tear he had and how he decided not to go back in the game. What do you think about that?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's very interesting that he decided not to go back into the game. Sometimes it's really interesting to really find out why player make a decision. Maybe he felt as though he couldn't perform as well as he could have if he wasn't injured. We don't know the extent of the injury that occurred with him, but in a game such as that, you would have to. I would have to be a person that couldn't walk to get back in that game. Because I've played with busted elbows, cartilage torn in my knees, fingers broken and everything else. But it's all about a decision that the player has to make within himself based on what he feels about whether he can go out and really truly perform to the level that he knows he's capable of performing.
And it's also different being an offensive tackle from being a quarterback, where you have to move around a little bit, and you got guys 6'5", 300 pounds chasing you down, and you're supposed to throw the ball in a certain place, and you can barely walk. Absolutely.
Well, it makes a big difference, and he felt as though he couldn't perform at the level that he's accustomed to performing, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with the decision that he made.
But I'll tell you what, you played with two great quarterbacks in Roger Staubach and Danny White, and I know those guys would have been in there playing hurt.
Absolutely. It would have to take a truck to run over Roger to keep him out of that game, man, because Roger's so competitive that he's always felt that no matter what our position would have been, that he could gain the first down by running the football, or he could pass the ball to Drew Pearson, and Danny White felt the same way, would have felt the same way. So they both were great quarterbacks, and, I was really, really honored to play, for two great quarterbacks like Danny White and Roger Staubach.
Yeah, I mean, you could have ripped off their right arms, and they would have stayed in there and tried to throw left-handed.
Well, Roger would have, I know.
Did you play with Dandy Don, or was he before you?
I played with Don Meredith. I sure did. Matter of fact, Don Meredith threw me a touchdown pass against the Philadelphia Eagles, and we had a quarterback situation where we had all the quarterbacks in Dallas at the stadium, and I asked Don, I said, Don, you remember throwing me a touchdown pass against Philadelphia? And he said, Rayfield, you so tall, you just got in the way. I wasn't throwing the ball to you.
What's an offensive tackle doing catching a touchdown pass anyway?
Well, I was playing tight end. When I made the Dallas Cowboys as a tight end, and I played tight end my first 2 years, and I couldn't even make the high school football team, matter of fact. So my third year with the Cowboys, when Roger Staubach joined the club in '69, Coach Landry called me into his office and said, Rayfield, I'm going to move you to offensive tackle. And I thought he was crazy because I'd never played tackle before in my life. And but he said that Roger moved around a lot, and, you're pretty quick, and you move, have a lot of agility, and you're a good blocker. And he said, I think you'll make a great tackle.
And now you're a writer. You have a new book coming out?
Yes, I have a book that's out, and it's titled Wright Up Front, and it's a motivational, inspirational book, because I work with a lot of kids all over the United States trying to encourage them and trying to get them to understand life and be an example based on my life from the time I was born until I retired from the Dallas Cowboys. And all of the proceeds from the sale of my book goes to my foundation, Rayfield Wright Foundation, and anyone can go to rayfieldwright.com and see the things that I do. And through the foundation, we have helped so far 16 kids to go to college. And we're looking forward to helping some others go to college as well.
I'm going to bring up a bad word, Pittsburgh Steelers, but you are very similar to Mel Blount because Mel Blount's doing the same thing, helping youth with his Mel Blount Youth Home.
Yes, yeah, Mel is doing a great job with his foundation, and I know Mel very well, and I've talked to Mel several times about his foundation. He's also spoken with me about mine, and you know, anytime professional athletes in the spotlight, especially guys that have played in the Super Bowl games and things like that, you become a star attraction, not just to other football fans, but to young kids because they kind of look up to you and hopes that they will have an opportunity to play professional ball. You know, it's really interesting that all around the United States that I have had an opportunity to speak, and I'm a national public speaker as well. And there's one question that young kids ask me all the time. And, you know, I think it's kind of amazing in a way because they said, Rayfield, I know you played in Super Bowls and I know you're in the Hall of Fame and, you know, I know all these things about you, but I'd like to ask you a question. I said, go ahead. And that question is, how did you get there? In other words, what they are really asking, that they knew all the accomplishments of the game itself, but what did you go through? What did you come from, and how did you come? You know, it's an interesting question because a lot of these young kids are in the same situation that you were in as a young boy growing up because I never knew my dad, and my mother and grandmother raised 4 kids. And, you know, so it's a very interesting question that you can take, you know, anywhere you would like to go with it. And so I just try to encourage young people, male and female, from kindergarten all the way through to 12th grade.
I would have asked you, are the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders as hot as they look?
I didn't hear the question.
I would have asked you, are the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders as hot as they look on TV?
The Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders?
Yes.
Well, they look pretty nice on TV, you know, and they perform pretty well. The only thing that, as a player, we didn't have the opportunities to really look at the cheerleaders because, you know, we was doing our job. You know, I remember a sports writer asked me one day when Tony Dorsett ran that long touchdown and said, Rayfield, did you see that run? I said, no, I didn't see it. He said, well, you were on the field. I said, I know I was, but if I had saw him doing that run, I wouldn't have been doing my job.
Now, when the kids come up to you and ask you that question, how do you answer them? Do you just tell them there's no shortcuts to all that to get to where you are?
Well, there's certainly no shortcuts, and the thing is that you have to make a commitment and dedicate yourself. And the most important thing, no matter how life comes to you, because life itself, you know, is a mystery. We don't know where we're going with our lives. But the thing is, outside of commitment and dedication, the most important thing is you don't quit. No matter what obstacles will come your way, you never quit. If once you set your goals and you try to do everything you possibly can to accomplish the goals in which you set, which are long-term goals and short-term goals, you never, ever quit.
What about Dallas hosting the Super Bowl? Is it a big thing down there?
Oh, it is awesome. Matter of fact, I just left the Super Bowl office up in Dallas here, and that's why I was running a little bit late. But it's so exciting because anytime a Super Bowl comes to the area in which you live, it does so much for the community, and so many people are getting involved. A lot of people here in Dallas had no idea at all what it really meant to have a Super Bowl in North Texas, in the state in which you live. But now everyone is beginning to kind of grasp exactly what the Super Bowl means and what it really means until the area in which you live. And I think that's very, very significant because, you know, I was blessed to have played in 5 Super Bowls, and, you know, it's each and every one of those Super Bowls were extremely important to me.
You should have won more, but I'll tell you what, I loved the Cowboys back in the day, up until Jimmy Johnson took over and they fired my coach, Tom Landry. I love Landry, but I'll tell you what, the Steelers and Raiders cheated back then. They all used steroids. Look how many guys died. The Cowboys did it right. They played clean.
Well, you know, all of that is a reflection on the Coach Tom Landry, because the thing that I really admired about Coach Landry is that, you know, he deserved the respect that he received, but he always kept his priorities in line. God was always first in his life, then his family, and then football. And it kind of passed down through the club, through the team. And out of the respect that we had for him, you know, we wanted to perform and do our very best, not just for ourselves, but for our head coach who meant so much as a father figure to a lot of us, to do the very best that we could do.
Thank you very much for your time, Rayfield. We really enjoyed it. Again, we're going to tell people to pick up your book. We're going to promote it on our Facebook, Twitter pages. And you're a class guy. Keep working with the kids. And you know what's important, what a lot of guys today don't.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your show. And I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl game. I think it's going to be a great game this year. The offensive line is going to be the key because of the 2 great defenses by each club.
Who do you pick?
Well, you know, I have
Cowboys.
a little thing about both of them because of the Ice Bowl game against Green Bay in '67, which I almost froze myself to death, and the fact that Pittsburgh beat us twice in the Super Bowl. So, you know, it's the kind of intimacy about both clubs, but the offensive line for each of the clubs is going to be the key to which team win this football game.
You're taking the 5th. Thank you again, Rayfield.
Okay.